lovers, my name is Carrie and this is Spines and Spoilers. So we're getting to that time of year where I'm not going to be able to record as much. My spouse is home for the summer, my stepdaughter is about to come over and stay for a couple of months. So yeah, I really will not have as much time to record. I want to get as much done right now as I can because right now David is out getting a haircut. But yeah, I'm just going to do a quick wrap up of what I read in May. I honestly haven't read much of anything in June. I started reading a book and haven't gotten much done. But on that note, I usually start my videos with what I'm reading and what I am drinking. I am reading The Kaiju Preservation Society. I love this book so much and I'm trying to take my time with it. And I know that sounds like an excuse, but it's true. My boyfriend actually got me this for my birthday, which was last month. 35 now. He knew that I enjoyed this author in particular, and I love this book so much so far. I am about 3/4 of the way through it at this point, loving every minute of it. It's going to be one that I reread over and over. I'm pretty sure I'm going to recommend to everyone. Not quite finished, but I already love it. I love it so much. As for what I'm drinking, I'm just drinking coffee. And it does have cream and sugar in it because I decided I don't hate myself that much. With that, I'll jump into the books that I read in May, starting with Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is a new favorite book, no surprise. It is my favorite book written by Grady Hendrix at this point. It had kind of a different voice, but not in a bad way. Of all the books that I have read of his, though, this one, I don't know, it felt the most complete, the most satisfying, and I absolutely adore it. And do recommend basically anyone who is interested in this subject matter. There are some unflattering depictions of witches, but I feel like it makes up for it later in the book, because it also has flattering depictions, so I don't know. But yeah, overall, just a wonderful story. I adored the characters, the plot, the setting, everything to do with it. Do recommend. The next book that I read was Before We Forget Kindness by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I don't have much more to say about this series than I've already said. I think this is book 6 in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I love all these books so far. I think that they are very light, very schmaltzy, and delightful, and I can definitely see why other people would not like them because of the fact that they are translated works and some of it doesn't necessarily translate very well, and they are immensely schmaltzy and repetitive. But I love them anyway. I don't care. The next book that I read in May was This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. I like this author. I think I've read 3 books by her so far and enjoyed all of them to some extent. This one was no exception. It was slightly more on the generic side, I suppose, as far as thrillers go, but it had some twists and turns in there that I particularly enjoyed. The next book that I read in May was The Unworthy by Augustina Bazterrica. Hoo boy. I love this one, but it was so rough in some places. The only big complaint that I have is I think it should have been longer and more detailed. Well, more detailed in some sense. I feel like we didn't get a fleshed out sense for the setting, and that there was a lot more that could have been said. Now, I am not saying it is bad. Not by any means. I absolutely love this book. It's not a 5-star because of the other features that I mentioned, but it is close to like a 4.5. And if she had fixed those factors, it would have been a 5, probably. This is by the author who wrote Tender as the Flesh, and I love her work. Never mind the fact that it's splatterpunk, which I don't usually enjoy. She just has a way of writing it where it doesn't make me basically want to rip off my skin, like Eric LaRocca or Mariana Enriquez. Number 5 is Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. I've read 2 other books by Gillian McAllister, enjoyed both of them. That's the reason I gave this one a chance. It was a pretty decent entry. Not the best, not the worst. I know I'm not going in depth with any of these. I'm trying to pack in as many videos as I can into a small amount of time, and I might not even be able to finish this one. We'll have to see. The 6th book that I read in May was Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fieto. So, this book was a little rough. I didn't dislike it. But you know how I said splatterpunk just wasn't necessarily my thing? Well, this has some splatterpunk aspects, and it was fun to read some of it. I loved that this person did something new. Like, that was refreshing. I love reading new perspectives and things written in new ways. But this was a lot. Demented is one way that I would phrase it. Absolutely demented and visceral. So if you like that kind of thing, go for it. I can't say that it was bad. I don't even know how to rate this because, like, there were parts of it where I was like, gross, hate that. Which is funny because in every other aspect of my life, I have a strong stomach, but for some reason when it comes to splatterpunk, it's just like, can't do this, sorry. The 7th book that I read in May was The Origin of Time by Thomas Hertog. I'm really curious to see the ripple effect that it's going to have on science from this point forward. The 8th book that I read in May was Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. This one was good, but it wasn't the best. Part of my feelings on that are probably a little tainted because I listened to the audiobook and I could not stand the accent that she used. So the character lives, in the deep south, but that means that the narrator had to fake a southern accent. And a bad southern accent can completely ruin, a audiobook, a movie, whatever, because one just can't focus on what's going on. So yeah, that definitely took away a few points for me. Unfortunately, it just kept on distracting from the story. That being said, it wasn't necessarily bad. It had a lot to say about religious persecution and, abuse among clergy members. Very don't judge a book by its cover to some extent, but it does veer off in a direction, and I'm still not positive how I feel about the ending and some of the things that happened. There were elements that I did really enjoy, but they are very spoilery, and others that I'm just like, what are you doing, Miss Winstead? What is going on here? So yeah, maybe like a 3.5 or so, somewhere in that 3.5 range. The 9th book that I read in May was Uncommon Measure by Natalie Hodges. This is a nonfiction memoir about a violinist with extreme performance anxiety to the point where she had to give up her art. It was interesting to read. I'm bad about rating nonfiction books because who am I to judge your story necessarily? But I did enjoy reading it. I thought it was interesting and informative. If you particularly like music, give it a read. The 10th book that I read in May was Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. By this point in the month, I was starting to run out of steam. I think I tried to read too much around the same time period because I think I didn't read anything for the first week or so and had to cram everything into the next 3 weeks. But yeah, I did like this one, but not as much as her truly devious books. The 11th book that I read in May was The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. Oh my god, I loved this book so much. It does get a little bit weird at the end, and I would have preferred to see it go a different way, but the journey to get there is fascinating. I don't think that I had read anything by Chuck Wendig before this, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for his other work. I just really enjoy the way that he phrases his prose. The last book that I read in May was The Gift by Frida McFadden. It's actually a short story based on the Christmas story of The Gift. It is not a direct retelling, it's kind of a cover with some different spins. I kind of like what she did with it, even if I didn't necessarily expect it. It's one of those books where it ends and you go, good for her. With that though, that's all the books that I read in May of 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Always appreciate it way more than you know. I hope that you guys are staying safe out there and cool during the summer months if you live close to where I am. I just realized that I do have a book to add for June. I just forgot to put it on my StoryGraph. It's Bat Eater and Other Names for Corazon by Callie Baker. So I didn't expect this one to have a supernatural element, and I definitely wouldn't have expected it to play as strong of a role as it did. That being said, I think it was done in a way where it didn't disappoint in any way, shape, or form, really. While it wasn't what I was expecting, it was not a disappointment. That's literally it. Otherwise, I've just been reading the Kaiju Preservation Society. You can like and share and subscribe and all that jazz if you want to, but what is most important to me is that you remember to love yourself. Please, I implore you, just try it. Just this once. Try loving yourself. I think you'll like it. Okay, bye.